Right, so we've got a farmer who wants to build an enclosure, rectangular, against the wall of his barn. We've got 50 metres of fencing, and the enclosure's got to be at least 300 square metres. Right, so we've got a bit of setup to do here first. So let's start off by saying, okay, well, let's call that side X, that side there X, that side there Y. It says we're building the enclosure against the wall of his barn, so that's that bit there. We haven't got to worry about that as part of our 50 metres of fencing. So let's start off with that. So we've got 2x plus y equals 50. That's not an equality, that's a given fact. That's how much fence we've got to work with. The inequality is going to come from the be at least 300 metres squared. So that's the area. So we've got x times y has got to be at least 300. So what we've got there's our inequality. What we've got to do now is solve that. It's effectively a simultaneous equation. So why don't we go to this one here and say, okay, well, let's make that y equals 50 minus 2x. And then what we've got to do now is say, well, if that thing there is y, let's take that and dump it into there. So what we've got now for our inequality is going to say x bracket 50 minus 2x equal greater than 300. Okay, so now this is starting to look like something that's a bit familiar. We can do some multiplying out the brackets. 50x minus 2x squared equal greater than 300. And now we're saying, okay, we've got a quadratic inequality. And it's quadratic, so as ever, let's get it set equal to 0. So what I'm going to do is move that over to there, move that over to the other side as well. So I've got 0 equal greater than 2x squared minus 50x plus 300. And I'm looking at that and thinking, okay, we can divide the whole thing through by 2. That'll just make my life a little bit easier. So we've got x squared minus 25x plus 150. Okay, all good so far. Next job is do a bit of a solving. So we're going to find our critical value. So let's just assume it's not an equality. Let's assume it's an equation for now. And I think we can factorise that. So we've got 150, 25, 15 and 10. This would seem to work. Yeah, if we make that minus 15 minus 10. So my critical values are 15 and 10. So let's have a little look. Let's come over here and do a little bit of a sketch. We've got a quadratic looking like that. So that line there represents the various areas of my enclosure given the different lengths of the sides. That's 10. That's 15. Now, which part of that inequality do we want? Well, up here we're looking at my quadratic. The x squared minus 25x plus 150 has got to be less than 0. So I now want that bit there. So that's the bit that's less than 0. So that's going to give me x has got to be between 15 and 10. So it's looking like we've got a solution, but if we just go back and says the farmer wants to build the enclosure, what's the range of possible values for the length of the long side? Right, the long side. Now, at the moment, we've got x, there it is, that's the bit that's in red down here, so that's the short side between 15 and 10. We want to know about the long side. So we know that our short side has got those values. So let's go back and have a think about our values for y. We know y is 50 minus 2x. So if x is 10, that gives us y is 50 minus 20, so that's going to be 30. And if x is 15, that's going to give us y equals 20. So what we've actually got here is my values for y has got to be between 30 and 20. And there you go. That's the answer that we're after.